Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot1025fm.com.
We still got the seconds. What is the deal? Today is the day that the Lord has made for us to talk love. What is going on, guys? It is your girl, Miss Love Doctor, and we talking about love today, which you guys already know. But thank you for tuning in to the hottest station on the planet, Hot 702.5 FM, and right now, I want y'all to come on in here and open up your heart, open up your ears, open up your mind, and make sure you have this conversation with us with a open spirit, and look for somewhere for improvement within everything that you do and how you do things. Okay, so I am Ms. Love Doctor. We will have my beautiful co-host Beauty on the Beat tuning in very soon. But before we introduce our amazing guest of love, we are going to go make sure that we give a shout out to our sponsors, which is Keys Royalty House of Love, the house where love resides, and love is also the key. We also making sure you stay on beat with hair and makeup with Beauty on the Beat. Also, special shout out to KB Styles for your generous donation to the Flower Power Project. We definitely appreciate you and all of your help with the donation center that we created. Great teamwork, friend. So, be sure to comment, love, share, call in 702-551-5261. You already know that we love to hear from you. The disclaimer is that you have to be honest and you have to be respectful, but you can say whatever you feel and whatever's on your heart, all right? Keep it classy, though. So, as we get started, like I stated, that we have a special guest of love in the house. He is a husband of 14 years, together for 20, a father of 4, a co-host of Yes We Fight podcast, which you guys can catch live on Facebook, and the host of the up-and-coming #MeFirst podcast. He's a coach, and we have Mr. Gerald M. Mr. B. Paz Mizz in the house. I put 2 misters on there.
2 Mr.
2 misters. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain. I could complain, but I guess it wouldn't do me any good.
I feel like sometimes you need to have a little complain.
A little bit, every now and again.
Maybe we could, people schedule a day in the time. Like, this is the only time. You
as long
let
as
it
it's
out.
over afterwards.
Word vomit, and now we clean it up.
Absolutely.
And push it forward.
Absolutely.
All right. So, I know we're going to be having Miss Beauty on the Beat in there, but we're going to go ahead and get into the topic. The topic of today is the real on relationships, right? And let's be real. People are not being real when it comes to relationships. And their truth is not being lived when it comes to relationship. And we're growing up with living a life full of relationships that we often highlight, which is usually a romantic relationship. But a relationship is a connection, an association, or an involvement, connection between persons, blood, or marriage, and emotional and other connections between people. The relationships between teachers and students, business and customers, and even sexual involvement affairs. Those are still considered relationships, okay? So, the fact that we're having 2 relationship coaches in the house, we got to talk about that a little bit.
Let's do it.
So, how did you become a relationship coach?
Out of necessity. I actually started in health and wellness, undergrad in public health and health science. And I've noticed that in my time coaching athletes and people and to do all of these things for the body, I noticed that it all kind of boiled down to the same thing, which is the success is built on the backs of how your relationship with yourself is. And if you can build out that relationship with yourself, then it makes for an easier transition to learn the new skills necessary.
Oh, I like the way you put that. I feel like my story is kind of cookie cutter. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I've said it so many times that the fact that when you are going to college, they make you pick a demographic. They make you pick your target audience.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always so hard to narrow it down. And they're like, okay, well, what's going to be your minor? What, which way you're going to go? And my mind, my heart, the sway was always marriage, family, and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, you about love and it's not. And then I had to make a decision that is essential relationships. It's not just to be in a relationship.
Absolutely.
Like the importance of a relationship is what we are going to take care of. So, I narrowed it down as much as I could, but it's still
Absolutely.
it's still kind of broad.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just been always your relationship with yourself dictates how we view now and in the future. And it doesn't matter what that goal is. It doesn't matter if that goal is finances, health, or a marriage.
Yeah.
If you don't have the tools to control you, then you're not going to be able to put forth any techniques that you learn from any source. So
Anyway.
that's always been the thing that kind of drew me back to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100% because we only can control ourselves and our own emotions. And once you start to be reckless with your emotions, it can throw so many things out of whack. And then you are in this place of like, how did I get here?
Absolutely.
When in reality, you still have to come back to you to fix it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. But
That's a good
the
way to
fact
start.
that we are relationship coaches, I'm going to say that again.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about romantic relationships today because it's only befitting, right? Granted, there's all kind of relationships. But we were just discussing a relationship that you realize the connection and you feel. I'm an empath, so I'm a feeler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my sister had a soft launch this weekend for her daiquiri business. And I looked up and I saw your wife.
Absolutely.
And I was just like, oh, my God. Like, it was a feeling. That creates a new relationship.
Absolutely.
Because I was like, not that she didn't have to come, but the thought that she got up and she came and she was supportive. It was very, very, it was a nice heart feeling.
Yeah. So we can't stop at the feeling, right? We have to identify where that feeling is coming from because it's rooted in support and showing up, which are two actions that had to have taken place to create the feelings. What we want to avoid is creating feelings with no action. That's going to be our first step in talking about relationships with anyone.
Right. And the crazy part is my love language is acts of service.
There you go.
So that makes perfect sense that I would have that feeling of just
Absolutely.
seeing her face. I was like, oh, wow, that was nice. So, yeah.
And it's also going to be the reason why you and her will have a great relationship and ours going to be like, because I'm not a shower-upper.
But you do, though. Like,
okay.
You do, though.
There you go.
And you showed up in a way that was, because I pay attention to that stuff.
Okay.
You showed up in a way that you and I connected on when we first met. But we didn't have a conversation about it.
For sure.
But we had an eye contact when we were on stage, and there was something that happened out for the stage.
I'm with you. See,
you see what I'm saying?
So, yeah. Yes.
And we just looked at each other like, whoa,
We there.
And then you followed up. And I saw that. I sat and I watched. I'm like, he is so dope for that.
Yeah.
I caught that.
That's what's up.
And I think it meant a lot. But yeah.
So that's why me and my wife is a good tag team, because once I do that, then I just slide my wife right on in.
Yeah,
and she just
and she links it.
Nurtures the relationships.
She's a nurturer. Yes. And she's on here. She said, if I'm there, we there. You know it. Where's your chain at? We talked about that chain. So, it looks like we got Miss Beauty on the beat tuning in. Where mic is she? I don't know how to connect you. I don't know how to connect you, friend. Let me see. Nope. I think she got to get you. But, okay. So, we are involved in relationships on a day-to-day basis. But let's talk about actually being in one. How do we even get ourselves to be in a relationship? And I say that to say that sometimes some of us, and the big heavy on the us, is afraid to even want to get out there because what's out there. It's
what's out there?
Sharks and stingrays. It's all kind of dangerous things out there,
Okay,
you know.
okay.
So but how do we get ourselves in relationships?
Well, the first thing is we have to address the fear, right?
Yeah,
Okay, you're on
Because
the show, but
because
can
the
y'all hear
fear
me?
is
we can hear you.
the thing that's keeping you, and that comes from all of our past stories that we tell about
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, right? The stuff that has happened to us in the past, we can't let it go. We bring it to today for it to be sorted out in front of us. And that's the reason why I'm always going back to our own personal relationships, right? Is that if you're bringing that, then it's going to be very difficult and dangerous to get into any type of new relationship. Fair. The second
Yep.
thing is, the second thing is we need to make sure that as we're moving forward, that person isn't feeling one of these wounds, because that's how we end up in relationships that aren't good for us, right? Is that we have all of this baggage that we're bringing to today, and now we met somebody who's gorgeous or if I'm a man, right, has a whatever, pretty green eyes and long curly hair, like how I like them. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
and they are feeling this thing that I haven't resolved. So it's important to do our back self work first, so that we can show up today without being afraid, right?
Right.
So we can give people and ourselves the time without feeling rushed to like fulfill these things that we believe relationships are supposed to consist of. So we aren't allowed to ensure that the relationship matures and grows and nurtures at the steps that it's supposed to, and we're not pushing it because we think we're this or we think the past is that, and so on and so forth.
Yes, because if they are feeling the wound, then they're not even showing up fully because they've already poured half of them into that womb, and now they only have this rest of them to give. And you like, well, you ain't showing up the way you were before.
For sure.
What the?
And that really is of relationships, right? Is that is going to get into these relationships where that person, something from the past has not been healed, because that's how life is. We don't have all of the things filled, and a requirement of being in a relationship where that person in the relationship is fulfilling something is that you have to have something that needs to be filled, and that person should be able to do that. We need to be able to have open communication so that when we run up against these problems, we don't take it personal, and then we can actually walk through something like that with another person.
Right, right. And I think the willingness to say, I want to be in a relationship, as simple as that. Like this is something that I want to do, and
Yep.
I think for a lot of people, it's not something that they want to do, but they don't want to lose access to this person.
That is a big one.
Yeah.
That comes from self-control, right? Is that what is it that you don't want to keep? What is it that you don't want to lose out? Because if this person isn't ready to give you the things that you need in a relationship, then what exactly are you losing out on? It might be better for you to find someone else who, along with filling some of these holes that we have, is also willing to do the work required to build the relationship. I'm of solid mind that you should only be required to pick today, right now.
Okay.
Because tomorrow, my wife might do something catastrophic and our relationship won't survive it. I might do something catastrophic. Obviously, I don't believe that I will, nor do I believe that she will. But if it happens, then I have to be okay or prepared that the best thing for me and the best thing for her is to walk away. So we have to build relationships the way we build houses, one
Yes.
step at a time. We
Yeah.
can't dream about them if we haven't even laid down the foundation.
Don't even have land.
Don't even exactly right. We haven't even called a realtor in most places,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we're fantasizing about dreaming about living in houses and driving cars and having money that we've never even had, and we haven't even wrote out a business plan yet. We haven't even figured out a way to make $1,000 a week, let
Like, do
alone
we want 4 bedrooms? Do we want
exactly,
six? How many bedrooms do we want in this house?
exactly.
Do you want a bathroom upstairs? Do you want a bathroom downstairs? Now, what I can say from a woman's point of view, and you can speak for a male, I think that it is societally taught for a female to um, fantasize about these things because it's glorified. Like you get a fairy tale and you get a prince and he wafts you off to forever and everland and you live happily ever after, and this is what people think is what's going to happen, but nobody tells them how they get there.
Exactly. And I think that story is a great story because it should be the North Star, right? What they don't tell you is that after Cinderella got the wedding, right, the next day she had to work on her marriage.
The next day. Yes.
The very
Right?
next day.
The very next day.
But the story stops at the marriage, at the moment that they're like together, right? That's when it starts. What you've been told an incomplete story is that the next day she had to figure out if he likes his eggs sunny side up or scrambled. Does it like it hard fried or whole wings or half wings? You know what I mean? She has to start. And he has to start figuring out how much help does she need around the house? How much does she really want to contribute? What does she want to contribute?
Where are we at?
Where all of those things have to start being built. What we aren't being told is that a man and a woman, we build our spouses.
Yeah.
We build them, and that shouldn't sound like a negative thing. If you love that other person, you would be willing to begin to address some of the things that he desires. And if you love her, then you would be willing to address some of the things that she desires.
You want to.
It doesn't mean that you're going to change everything.
Yeah.
But it does mean that you at least give it some consideration so that you can at least have conversations about it. And if it is beneficial, you should change it.
Yeah. And why not? Just if it's for the sake of being right. But when you say build it, I look at it as if, I always say mesh, but then I was thinking on a building format is like Legos. Mm-hmm. Like you take this little Lego and then you put this other Lego and then you make a long Lego. Okay, we connected that.
For sure.
You know, but it's still my piece plus your piece and another piece, which made, you know, the building.
And all those pieces of those Legos come in different sizes, shapes. Some are heads, some are oblong, but they all connect. It's not perfect.
And you got two different lives that need to connect.
Because it's not perfect. No one said that this is an easy thing or that blending a relationship. Like, I like the word mesh, but mesh seems complete and perfect when really it's just together. In some areas of your relationship, it is fortified with stone. And some stuff, it is hard-packed dirt with straw. And some stuff, it's an open hole. And we got some time before it needs to be addressed, but we need not to believe that it ain't an open hole and it needs some work, because all relationships are imperfect.
Do you think that they're only imperfect because of the way we were taught to be? If we were to grow up with full autonomy of our authentic selves, so let's just, and I know this is a fairy tale, but free of drama, free of generational curses, like the way we were designed as a human, as a spirit, we weren't designed with all of this shit that came with us.
But were we not? Because the way I read it, from Genesis to chapter 3, we were already given all the curses.
Yeah, of course we were.
So before we even got through anywhere good in the Bible, that's where we already at with all of those things.
Of course we were.
Second is, why not? Why not the trauma? Because some of those...
Because we weren't designed for trauma.
Why aren't we?
I don't think that there was a child ever born to go through the shit that we're going through. All of it is created.
But they are. And they are making it.
I'm just saying, in the fairy tale
I understand
world,
the fairy tale, and I love the fairy tale too.
So in my mind, I do feel
agree.
like that wholeheartedly, like, relationships should not have to be hard. And I only say this because we know that we have trauma. We know what goes on in the world every single day. I don't know exactly what went on in your world, but I should have enough compassion for you to understand that something has went on in your world. So therefore, once we make this decision to make this connection, now we can really unpack all this shit and just handle it. Deal with it. And figure out our way of how we do it.
I agree.
So we don't have to make our relationship hard. I think we make it hard because we don't have those hard conversations. We don't stay in the middle like, listen, this is the baggage that I come with. I don't even know how I handle this. If somebody was to die, this is how I act. Like, you have to dig deep as hell in order for it to work. So now with the trauma, with everything, I think that there's still hope for that to be a thing.
I mean, I understand, and I'm with that ideology that things can be perfect like that, but it is extremely difficult to produce something like that because we hurt people on accident. We hurt people because we have a lack of education or a lack of understanding. And my lack of understanding or my lack of education could create a deep wound in you.
True.
And I'll give you a story. I had a conversation with my daughter, and I found out a few years ago that she has been carrying around this thing that I did to her. And what it was she had a friend that lived next door. She moved away. She came home to tell me, and I said, it's okay. You can find new friends. And to her, she took that as me not acknowledging her feelings and everything else and all this other stuff. And it created a 5 or 6 year long wound that she will always remember.
Yeah.
The thing is that without that wound, then I wasn't able to prove to her that I'm capable of overcoming things, that I'm capable of working on our relationship. Even if she's 14, 15 years old, I am capable to do that. And sometimes we want to wish the pain away so that we don't have to experience that, and I totally understand that. But if we could look at it slightly different and say that I can appreciate the sun because of how rainy and windy and cold it's been. And I can appreciate the cool air when it comes because of how hellish hot it is in Vegas in the summertime. I can appreciate sunshine because it rained for so long. I can appreciate these things. And I think if we do away with pain, we have to do away with things like gratitude and thankfulness, because if you don't have those things, then what is there to have overcome or to be thankful for? I understand what you're saying where you're like, everything is perfect.
She agrees. I'm going to let her speak. She agrees. We've had this conversation before.
I understand that everything is perfect and nobody has to deal with the pain, but it's hard to keep pain out.
I think it's, honestly, like the bigger portion for me, I think it's more of a trigger because like the recent things that I've went through, I think people think it's comforting to say, oh, if you didn't go through that, you wouldn't be who you are. And instantly my heart is calling bullshit.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't deserve that.
Absolutely.
So that's probably
I understand
where that comes from. And I see a world where, and we've talked about it, like the owner of the radio station, she lived in a world like that. 2-parent household, grandparents, loved each other, everybody's communicative, siblings, they're taught this, then the other. So when she stepped out into the world and saw that everybody wasn't like that, everybody didn't grow up like that. So it was like the opposite of what we looking at. And I'm like, no, that's how it's supposed to be. But just imagine if there was more of that on a higher number.
Absolutely.
The education of us would be higher to know, like, damn, that I can't say that. We would be more emotionally intelligent.
I agree.
So that's why I say that a lot of this is created. So the way we're created as a human is not how we operate.
I agree. And I think the journey is that we all of our journeys is to get back to that.
Yeah.
But I think you don't have the space to get back to that if you don't experience your own form of trauma. And
because now you have to get back from something.
Everyone, it doesn't matter
how kicked your ass across the football
But it
field.
also doesn't matter where you're from or what you're used to. Like, your trauma isn't my trauma, right?
At all.
I grew up poor. I grew up all this. I have friends who have their own trauma and never grew up poor. It's a totally separate.
Yeah.
And to be honest, look, I have my own issues with my own self. I was molested at 13 years old by a male family friend. And it takes a lot of courage to be able to forgive the entire situation so that you can move on. And it also teaches that forgiveness is a real thing and a very selfish thing. And I wouldn't have known that had this thing not happened. That can be true, while I also believe that it should never happen to anybody else.
Right.
And I think we can separate the two by understanding that Your story and your journey is going to have its own mile markers, its own
Yeah.
pillars, its own things, and those are for you. And we shouldn't be dumping them out for society to correct them. You can fight for the things that you've experienced that you don't want anyone else to experience. That is your plight. That is your journey, and you should 100% do that.
Yeah. And it's so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate.
Dang.
What you gotta say, homegirl? How was your
Girl,
week?
I
How are
was in
you?
here. Well, I finally got my voice back a little bit. You can hear the little hoarseness, but I mean, I'm in here. I just was really tired today too, because like when you're sick, like you feel like as a mom, you gotta keep doing shit all the time, and you can't really like rest. And I'm trying to get better at that because my friend seen me pass out, so she always bring that up to me, like you need to take care of yourself. So that's what I was doing. I would have loved to be in the studio, but as you can hear, I'm still sneezing and coughing, and I ain't trying to get nobody sick. So,
Look at God. Praise you.
and it was my son's 16th birthday. So, like, the
Happy birthday.
conversation, though, the conversation for me, especially with Gerald, because, like, I love your podcast when you talk about I haven't had anybody that's been married as long as I have and has been through shit, but still with the same person that you've been through shit with. You feel me? And it's nice to have someone that you can like. I was hoping that they was gonna come here for the birthday party so we could have a bomb ass conversation, but that's still gonna happen on a whole nother trip because I have they're gonna be my
Game night.
married
Absolutely.
friends, game night.
Absolutely.
But it's like that is hella true what all of y'all talking about of like the trauma because when I met my husband, I knew like he came from a two-parent household. They owned a house. I'm like, nigga, I come from poverty. I come from place to place, living with everybody, family, whatever. My mom was on drugs, me and Melissa. I had hella shit. So I thought he was gonna fix all that shit. I thought I was gonna be able to know. I could like relax and just, be his wife and be a mother but like that's not what happened. And that's what I said. Like you said, like having that expectation on somebody that you thought because they had this, they weren't gonna come unscathed. And I didn't even ask those questions to him to be honest. That was just me thinking like he should have his shit together. He got all this.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have no issues. So me learning that now and we shit 20 years in, I'm like, we got forever. It's a great thing though, because being on this show for the year, I've evolved myself. And what I figure and what I want out of life does not necessarily dictate how he shows up. It's how I show up and how I'm healing and how I'm gonna be able to be a better parent, a better wife, a better Marquita to myself. And then everything else will fall in fucking line.
I like that.
I agree.
Sheesh.
I agree. It has been a year. I see how you dropped that. Boop.
Yeah, the
You
mics,
know,
the mics in here have been on fire.
Okay, so since you are evolving, what does it take to create a safe space for effective communication within a relationship?
Ooh, I'm still working on that because I feel like the communication part. I feel like when you have a conversation and everything is a fucking trigger, between y'all, I'd be like, wait, I'm trying to get the expression out. Now you stopping me because I triggered you, and then we have to have a whole conversation on the trigger that just happened before I can even get out what I'm really trying to say. Like that shit. Ooh, when I tell you, that is something that we're definitely working on to be able to express that, but it hasn't been. It ain't been easy. But I've been waiting to hear from you guys how to handle those type of things of like, hey, we're continuing to like we know our triggers and we know the little like you said, I'm still little Marquita. I'm still when conflicts happen, I turn into that little 3-year-old who was left on her birthday by her mama. That's who I turn into. And it's hard for me to say that shit, but that is.
But
You
you're
never
able
want
to say it. You're able to
Yeah,
recognize
yeah,
it. You're
'cause
able to say it. So that's like huge. You know what I mean? Because you
I
probably didn't know
know.
why you cried every single time, or you probably didn't know why you felt the way you felt or those emotions. That means you're digging in those places that you need to dig into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
he
I
doesn't
was
have
the
to
type
keep
that didn't
feeling
have.
that space.
Yeah, the
Hmm.
biggest thing about breakthroughs is that once you break through, then they have to be true at all times. That
Yeah.
means when you
It's
having these
there.
conversations and you feel yourself feeling like that, then it is 100% your responsibility to back off, because
Yeah.
it is not the other person's it's not the other person's job to work on himself and also manage your triggers.
Yep.
You
Yep.
have to be able to manage your triggers so that you can understand more about you, because that's what this is all
Hmm.
about. You need to
Hmm.
understand more about you. So when you understand that when conflict happens, you turn into that person, you have to pause. I am an angry person, for the most part. And I don't know where it came from. I've developed it over the years. It is my go-to emotion. When I don't know what to do, I'm just going to get pissed off. So, in my
Yeah.
relationship with my wife, as soon as I feel like that, I hear her say something that could get me like that, I stop the conversation. And I've said, and my wife can chime in if she wants. She knows. I'd rather you be mad at me for stopping the conversation than mad at me
Thank
for
you.
saying some shit I don't actually mean.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Hmm.
So I can deal with you being upset at me because I keep stopping the conversation.
Yeah.
But I can't deal with the conversation about me yelling and screaming, because I'm going to have to talk about that, and we're never going to get to the point
Yeah.
where I'm
Yes.
actually mad that you keep
Hmm.
doing this one thing that's triggering me. Because
Hmm.
just because that trigger isn't my responsibility, right? It or your responsibility for me, you still owe me a conversation if you care about our relationship. If you
Hmm.
want me to go and deal with this by myself, then you don't get to participate. And I think a lot of times in these relationships, people, I know a lot of men who feel like this for sure. They feel like as soon as I say something to you, then I have to defend myself. I have to prove it and all these other things. And I low key feel like I can deal with this all by myself. And if I
Hmm.
do, it's just going to drive a wedge. So as a woman, I'm not telling women what to do, but as a woman, it would be nice to back off a little bit and just listen, take it in, and that's all. If that triggers you, then you need to identify that it triggers you and back off before you destroy the opportunity to
Yeah.
have had a conversation, because you don't want to turn conversations about something specific into an argument about a reaction.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So then,
That's very
question
much the
for you.
truth. So my whole thing is about the whole triggers. I think it's important for you to know what your triggers are. Because if I can't tell you that this is a trigger for me, then how do you even know that you're setting off that alarm every single time? So it would be important, because you don't know what they are all the time right away anyway. But if we are working to have said healthy
Hmm.
relationship, we can have a session where we write them down. Not like, well, what's your triggers?
Yeah,
Because now I got to
absolutely.
think about it. But if I can
Hmm.
sit down and really be like, oh man, oh yeah, that
That's the reason
upset
why you
me.
have to stop. So the reason why stopping in conversations when those things come up is so that you have a frame of reference to go back to when you have this conversation. You may not be able to explain your triggers in the future or at random, but you can revisit this conversation now that I'm not pissed off at you, right? And say, hey, what happened here? Like, why did you just shut the conversation down? And then dive into the key components from a very neutral stance. If that is, and you can't use that as the window to bring up the argument again, because that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We have to identify that this is the space where we're going to blow this mug up, and we need to talk about not blowing this mug up before we can venture on forward in the conversation. Most of us never do. We just point the fingers about the reaction. Well, it's your fault that I reacted like that. No, it's your fault for making me do this, and that's why you reacted like this, and that's not a
Hmm.
healthy conversation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But why are you getting mad at me when all I did was ask you, why did you do this?
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
think
So
I've been operating like that for. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm sorry.
no, go,
I've
go.
been operating like that for a long time without knowing that that's what I was doing. But a lot of people wouldn't like it. Like if I would go silent and I won't say nothing, and even if it takes me a couple of days,
Hmm.
but I was a firm believer, and I learned at a young age that words are the only thing that you can't take back, no matter if you apologize or not. So I'm a firm believer in I'm not going to say anything to you that I don't mean. Now, the way it comes out may be the issue.
Absolutely.
But it is important to make sure you, if you know you don't mean this about that person, you really should not allow your emotions to take over and say some hurtful things that you like,
100%.
damn, I didn't mean that. Well, why would you say it? You gotta,
because people say a lot of shit when they upset or hurt because feelings are unpredictable. Feelings are real, right? They're very real, but they aren't true though. So they're real because you do actually feel that way. The way that you feel causes physiological responses, increase in heart rate, your sweat glands open up. All of these things happen due to how you feel.
Yeah.
But they aren't necessarily true because the truth has to have some proof. So being upset is only a proof of what? Is a proof that this specific thing is very not you.
Yeah.
No,
but this
the
very
issue.
specific thing is making me mad. So when you react, you're not reacting at the person, you're reacting at the specific thing because that fucking thing is what's pissing you off.
Yeah.
Not you. Yes, you're the one doing it, but I'm still here, so I believe that you can change this, but you keep doing it, and I hate that you do it.
Yes.
I always refer to that. Okay, so what you were saying?
No, so when you were saying, Gerald, right, when a man voices his opinion about something, then we have to clarify and ask why. I get what you're saying on that, for us to be able to listen. I get that. My question is for
However.
that, though. My question is for that. How can it, because if I'm expressing how something bothers me, how does it get back to you? How does it get back to, well, when I feel like this, you don't say anything? It's like, no. We're talking about this situation. So how do men
Like
can speak up?
reflecting?
Well,
You know how like a guy will tell
what he's
you,
saying is true. He's trying to find a pattern. He's trying to find how this makes sense to him. If he says to you, "Hey, I don't like," or you come to him and you say, "Hey, I don't like that you." I'll give you a real example. Actually, this is what my wife used to do all the time. Sorry, babe, I'm putting you on blast. But my wife would come to me and say, "Hey, every single time I start talking, you interrupt me," and I'm like, "Every single time I talk, you interrupt me. It's the same thing." And I've brought this up to you a million times, and you have not addressed it. Does that
Okay.
sound familiar?
yes,
That is still true. Both of them are true, right? And the conversation that has to happen is, are you willing to do that for him?
yes,
Because it's not necessarily back to me or back to that. You still have to take accountability for if you do that same action.
yeah,
Right? And if you're
Yep.
willing to, then a simple, I won't interrupt you or I won't do that to you. And now that that's settled, can we now talk about you interrupting me?
yes. But I feel like why would you have to bring that up when it's like when you're speaking on something that you're feeling? If you were feeling that way, why can't you say it when you were feeling it that time?
Because
Like, why do you have to wait?
because
Why do
it
you have to
feels
wait
like
till I bring it up?
because it
You to
feels like
bring it up.
I've been giving you that grace. Like I've noticed that every time that I talk, you interrupt me, and I haven't said anything. So why are you upset when I interject? Because I thought that's how we were rocking.
Okay, that makes sense.
And here's the thing, like what I'm saying isn't gold, right? What I'm saying is a possible scenario so that we don't always get stuck in believing it our way.
Yeah,
We keep telling ourselves that this is the way that it is, and we don't give ourselves the opportunity to ever think that it could possibly be something else. That him saying that isn't malicious. It might be to him that he's adding to the conversation, something else that should be taken into consideration. So it doesn't always have to be negative or positive, but we do have to start allowing a different way of thinking, especially if this way of thinking is keeping you in this same routine over and over, so that every single time you have a similar conversation, you fall in the same tracks. Well, somebody has to be willing to step out of those similar tracks. And since you're the one on the phone, it got to be you.
Okay, that was good.
All
So,
right, all right.
what's the value? And the only reason why I put this question is because I feel like I sit and watch people devalue relationships. We have totally lost the value of having a commitment to a person. What's the value in having a romantic relationship, but in a space with longevity and substance?
Well, if you allow that space to be free and be safe and open, then it can complete all of those things. All of the baggage and everything else that we come in protecting, if you allow the other person to love you completely, then that love can fill those holes. And there aren't many relationships. There aren't many relationships that you can get that, because it's the only relationship that you have to choose. Therefore, every single day you have to prove to the other person that you still want to do this shit.
Oh,
Every day.
Every day.
Even if it sucks, even if I'm not having the greatest of days, even if I wish I was smiling, or even if the day is freaking amazing and everything is great, it's still a choice to come back, wake up in the morning and do the same thing.
Yep.
And that's proof that you can see, because my wife is beautiful and she has options. She don't have to be with me, but she chooses to be with me for whatever her reasons are. And I do the same thing for her.
Right.
It's not one of these I only love her or she only loves me thing. We have to prove it to each other on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And we are okay with doing that.
Yeah. A choice.
We used to suck at it. So I don't want to tell the
so
fairy
what
tale.
happened? Tell us what happened. What made that? What was that aha moment for y'all to be like, okay, we choosing this? Is it? It is what it is.
I think my wife has always chosen me, and I don't think I've ever let her choose me. I've only judged her for my traumas from my mom not choosing me, or some of those things that I've experienced in the past, right? She couldn't fix those things, and I pushed her away on multiple occasions. And the last time I pushed her away was the time that I realized that I am not safe for anyone. I'm not safe for my wife. I'm not safe for my children. I'm not safe for my mom. I'm not safe for my dad. I'm just not a safe person to be around, because I'm carrying so much anger, so much hurt, so much trauma that only everyone else can solve, that I'm just bleeding on the people that I care about. So I'm just staying away. And that forces me to isolate myself. And the more I isolate myself, the more you push people away. The more you push people away, the more you blame them for leaving. The more you blame them for leaving, the more they actually leave. And then you're stuck there by yourself. And the only person I can think about is my wife. It's like, of all the things that I can't make it without, it would be her. It's the only thing. My kids, fuck them kids. I love them to death. I love my kids. I love my kids.
Her.
That's the next show. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. But FDK, straight up, because everything that I can possibly teach my children, they will watch me do that with their mom.
Yes.
Yes.
So if I don't spend time being the example for them, then what good is it? And I realized that I wasn't being a very good example. I have 4 children. My oldest is 21.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. Your wife on here said, I prefer to have my issues addressed first than move on to his.
There you go.
Okay. But that's, again, it's creating. And see, the way I even view it is that you get up every day, you go to work. You apply for this job. and you put on your best shit and you want to get the job and you going to say all your best attributes and all your skills and everything, your weaknesses and your strengths, and you going to go in there, hope you get this job. And then you're going to go to work every day because you want to excel at this job. You have to put that same energy into relationships.
Yeah, you do. You have to put that same energy into it. And to address what my wife say, that's what she prefer, but that's not what she get. Because that's what I prefer. So we gonna fight there every time.
Okay.
Every single time.
Or you could do opposites. You win last time, I go this time.
Sometimes we do get that. Because for real. Because now it's like, all right, somebody got to give.
Somebody got to give.
It's just safe enough where we can still get there, butt heads. We're still gonna butt heads.
Yeah.
If this somebody's just gonna shake it off first and be like, all right, chill out.
I didn't know you was coming. You was coming this way, I was coming this way.
Me and my wife had an argument about something stupid for like an hour and a half, and at the end I was like, I'm not arguing about this. Come and give me a hug.
Come and give me a hug. Aww.
And it's over with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just doesn't resolve it.
Yeah, it's like...
Because it's okay to agree to disagree.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay. Because trust me, I like a great debate. Love a great debate. So it's never that just because we don't agree with each other that it has to be an argument.
For sure.
Yes.
I agree.
We could just not, because of course, if I'm like, well, this water is the best water, and you're like, this water is trash, and we probably could talk about it for an hour of why I like this water and why you like that water, and then we still.
I'm cool with that. And I also agree that
I buy both waters when I go to the store.
100%. And I also agree that I should be able to feel like your take is absolutely fucking stupid too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But the only thing is
and
that
if that's the case,
I'm not. The only thing is that I just need to be mindful
you get
of
my
how I
damn
say
water
that,
when
right?
you go to the store. Right? You talking shit.
All I gotta be is respectful of whatever it is that you want. I'm not drinking that water.
I'm not drinking that trash.
So it's like, so who cares about your stupid water?
We're going to share our
water.
Okay?
That is fair. That is so fair. And I think that when people get to that place, it's like, damn, like this could have worked if we really started to dig into. So I had a really quick question before we get off, because it was about something you said earlier. When you were saying you have to let go of all your baggage, right, in order to allow love in. Now, what if you have been working on your baggage, but you're very protective? How do you not be so protective? And I had it worded differently where it's itemized, because it might just be this is guarded a little bit more. And I have the answer that I think it is, but I just want to know what your answer is.
Can I hear yours first?
I think that we can. For me, I'm gonna just speak for self. I can't just go outside, and I learned this probably at a younger age. I used to give everybody an A+ when I met you. You are A+, you're a great person, and then I start to learn that people are not who they say they are. People are not like me, and they're not going to treat me like I treat them. So that gets what? My feelings hurt. So now, for a long time, everybody got an F-.
For sure.
So, like you said, I pushed people away. I didn't want to talk to people. I was very guarded. And then I started to deal with my shit, right? I started to deal with my baggage, and I started to realize a lot of different things. But I also realized what I have to offer should be protected. And if this person is willing to work with me and they really are sincere about their intentions and their actions, it's going to be nothing for them to break down those barriers, because they're going to come in a way that makes me trust them automatically, right?
Okay, that's a lot. I don't think it's anyone's responsibility to break down barriers, but I think that you have the right to be protected. And you have the right to slowly release some of those things to whomever it is that you find at whatever comfort level that you have.
So break down barriers and put in patience.
There you go. And I think maybe we should, change some of the concepts behind it. Like, everyone does get an A+, but an A+ doesn't necessarily mean that you get all pieces of me, right? You get an A+ because I'm not afraid of you. And I have the tools to protect myself. We only give people F+ or fear pluses, right? When we don't have the capabilities to control ourselves, and we need to keep people at a distance because people can hurt me, right? I'm saying arm yourself, understand yourself. That way you can give people all a fair shot and let them prove the type of person that they are. I don't have to wait on them to blow up, right? I can just allow them to be who they are, and I can identify that this person just doesn't fit with me because I know enough about me that I can't. But that also means that you have to be able to release when it's time. So if you're going to do those things and a person meets that criteria, then you need to let go of some stuff.
I agree with that. I think that you can and you will, but I think for the most part, people feel like if you're guarded. So like my old supervisor, he used to say, and we ran out of time, but he used to be like, open yourself up. And this is probably when I was very, very guarded. This was some years ago. And I used to be like, what the hell does that mean? Open myself up. I didn't get it until I met somebody and I was naturally nice to them. I was naturally a little softer with them. And I was like, am I opening myself up? Is this what he meant this whole time? No, but yeah, I think that is something that we could talk about seriously because people have been hurt.
I'm saying open yourself up to the possibility.
That's probably what he was saying
and
too.
Not to people. Just open yourself to the possibility that when this man that is in front of you,
dating, like open yourself up to
who has done absolutely nothing wrong, right, up to this point in time, that we won't condemn him because we have old memories and flashbacks of all the men
immediately
who were.
Like,
and that's the reason why you have to be open to the possibilities that he isn't like everybody. He is who he says he is. So you have to let him be until he shows you that he isn't. Then treat him accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a whole conversation for real. Because I talk to a lot of people who's been hurt, you know, and it's like you have to deal with that hurt.
Absolutely.
And I said it one day recently, something out of my mouth, and it has never come out of my mouth like that. And I was like, shit, that's it.
Because all trauma is unresolved emotional memories.
Yeah, I was like, that is it. That closed the door.
And that could be on the good side or the bad side. Like we may have great emotional memories about something that has created a false understanding of what men are. I think about this stuff as the type of father that I am around my daughters. Like I might be creating some falsehoods around what they're actually going to be, you know, dealing with out there because of the type of man that I am for them now. Right.
But they know what they're looking for. Okay, we were going to talk about manifesting relationships, but conversation got good, so we were all over the place. I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. We absolutely love y'all. Hope you guys can make it out April 19th from 3 to 5 right here at Orleans Square down at Sister Kim's Kitchen, who is going to be allowing us to air live for our 1-year anniversary. So, shout out to you, Beauty on the Beat. 1 year, girlfriend.
Girl, shout out to you.
To the next time.
To her for the love doctor making this Let's Talk Love where we all, this is, okay, yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't even want to get on here and gonna cry. But yes. We got so much more to do, friends.
We got work to do. All right, love y'all.